We're very excited today. We're joined by Coach Goran from the head coach of Thompson Rivers University. Thank you very much, Goran, for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure to speak with you.
So let's go back. Where did you grow up, and what was basketball like when you were getting started as a kid?
Yeah, I was born in the Serbia, and basketball is the big part of the growing of every child. To be honest, like all the kids, their first sport is the soccer. Soccer is very popular in the Europe. I was the goalkeeper, and after that, when I grew up, when I became the tall, like it was the natural to pushing to the basketball.
Right. And so, at what age? Do you remember what age you started when you started playing?
So normally, a lot of the kids in the Serbia, they start to play on the street because in that time was completely normal that you spend a lot of time outside on the street, on the parks, but basically some kind of organized sport is usually starts with elementary school. So I cannot remember exactly, but it was probably grade 2 or grade 3, something like that.
Absolutely. And so you started playing. The system is more club there than it is during your high school, correct?
Yeah, basically to be honest, I even don't know if we have the high school basketball. High school basketball is the more recreational because everything is about the school. Normally they have in the elementary school, they have some different kind of opportunity, for example, for the art, for the music, also for the sport. And that is just helping you to choose like what you want, maybe discover some your talent, but really organize the sport starting in the clubs. And it was the same with me. I start to play in the local club is the Mladost from Nova Pazova. My town is about I think 20 kilometers, 25 kilometers from the Belgrade. So I start some of my friends normally usually is like that. They call me to try to play the basketball. My first coach was the Dimče Kofilevski. I really had the good luck because he was amazing with how to animate the kids and how to pass the love for the basketball, generally for the sport and also for the basketball. After that, I have some participation on some summer camps, and it became the part of my childhood.
Fantastic. So did you play other sports, or was it just basketball? Did you still stay with soccer?
As I mentioned you, I remember that I was the goalkeeper in the soccer, but it maybe was for the one season. Everything in that the small town. I used also to play a lot of ping pong, but it was more recreational with my father. But basically, only organized sport that I really practiced regularly was the basketball. It's the completely different kind of the mentality and approach. For example, especially in the Serbia, it's the much more popular collective sports than individual. Now in the last years, with the Nova Djokovic, before that Monica Seles, was little more start to be the popular tennis and individual sports, but basically, let's say the 90% of the kids, they are starting in the collective sports, because also the kind of the culture is the more to learn behind the sport, to socialize, to meet the other people, to share with the other people. So it was completely natural to choose some kind of the collective sport.
Absolutely. So you stick with basketball for a while. How do you get into coaching?
But it was I start to study. As player, I didn't have any kind of the career. I also had some kind of injury when I was in the military service. So all that stuff turned me to thinking about I saw that I will not be the top player. I saw that I will not be the national team player, or that I will not play EuroLeague. So I decided to if I start to be the coach earlier, probably I will have some advance of the other coaches that normally they are coming in the coaching when they finish their player career. And that's the reason that actually this year I celebrate 30 years of the coaching, and I'm still very young. I'm under the 50. So it was in my town, basketball was they had some problem with this, young kids. They almost didn't have any kind of the program of young kids. And I feel that that is the maybe ideal time to start some voluntary job to help them. And I remember that that court that even today is very popular, that I paint the first line on the court. And because we have just the hoops, we didn't have the line, we didn't have nothing. And I started that program. I ran that about maybe 6 months. And after that, in the same time, I was a student of the astronomy. I studied astronomy. And one day when I was traveling from the university to home, my ex-coach, my first coach, picked up me on the bus station. And in some conversation, he invited me to go and to work with him in another club, local club also, that was much better organized in that time. So in the some moment, like it was hard for me because I start to organize some kids in my town, but I also know that I will develop much more in the other club and that I will have the more opportunity to learn first of all from him. And after that, like it became the part of my life, because also I decided after that to leave the astronomy and to go to university for the basketball coaches. They call the Viša Trenerska škola. So this is like some kind of the school for the high level basketball coaches, if I can translate that. And after that, normal, I start to develop as coach.
So let's get specific on that. So what is that school? How does it work? We don't really have a
that is the part. Yeah, that is the part of the Belgrade University. Is the like faculty of the physical education, and you have the different kinds of the sports of the department. And one of the courses exactly for the basketball coaches. And that is what I finished. I'm very proud that also I had on that school one of the best professors in the history of the in that time Yugoslavia basketball. Now is the Serbian professor Karalic. He really was like very high standard established, and like you cannot go on exam if you are really not sure, because like you will feel the shame if you go on the exam and you are not ready, because he will not give you any chance just to pass exam. Like really he was looking for the quality and for the knowledge.
Well, you know, when you have somebody like that, it forms you and it forces you to be focused and make sure you do the things properly. So it's very important to have something like that. So you stayed there for a while. How long? So what country were you in at this time? And then how long did you stay there?
I work in the several clubs. I work in the Mladost. I work in the Lifan. After that, I work in the Partizan from the Belgrade. I also work in the Sombor. So I think it was the 9-10 years. After that was you remember the 90s was very difficult years from the Balkan general that area because of the war, and after that the NATO bombing. So we decided, me and my wife, we decided on the 99 to definitively to leave the Serbia, because we know that there are the problems with the radiation, because some of the bombing was with uranium, and our town is also the very close, is basically the military airport that was the main military airport to protect the Belgrade during that time. Was the bombing like almost 600 times. So we decided that is not any more health environment for our daughter growing, because in that time our older daughter Yo-Yo, she was like a baby, a couple of the months. And my first destination was actually Canada. So first time when I left Serbia, it was the 1996. So I went to the Canada. I didn't manage to get the approval for the papers to bring my wife and my daughter. And the destination was the Portugal, just to be sure that I can take him out, because I have the promise from the one person that also was very important for my life, Ze Paiva. He was the president of the Štoril Basketball Club, and he did everything that I go in the Portugal. He really want to have the coach from in that time Yugoslavia was the name of the country. and he managed to help me to have all the papers for my wife and my daughter. So we went to the Portugal for the 1 year. It was the goal, but we stayed there for the 15, 16 years. Amazing 15, 16 years. And in this moment, like we have the Serbian and Portuguese citizenship, and we are expecting also Canadian. So like we will have. I always joke like I'm really so grateful to the God, because maybe 3 the best countries in the world. I have the first. I was born in the Serbia. That is the amazing the country with amazing the people, like unbelievable good place for the growing with the right values. Portugal is also like one of the best countries with the climate, with the food. People are very friendly, and for the Canada, like I still didn't find any country better organized with giving the so much freedom and diversity as in the Canada.
And so you spent in Portugal. You're there for 15 years. What's it like to? What are you doing there? Are you coaching? Are you?
Yeah, I was the professional. I was the basically professional coach. I worked for the year and a half in the Estoril. After that, I went to the Albufeira to be the coach of the Immortal. If I remember well, it was for the 6 years. After that, I went to the Bagarense. I was the coordinator. Basically, in the Immortal and Estoril, I was the head coach, and I also was the coordinator of the young categories. In the Bagarense, in the Barreiro, I work as assistant coach of the head coach of the senior team, because club basketball in the Europe is organized. You have the different age categories like U14, U12, U16, U18, U20, and after that you have the senior team. Some of the clubs, they have also senior B team. That is the basically team that they use to prepare the players for the professional team. And after that, I work also for the 8 years in the Benfica.
So what brings you to Canada? Obviously, Portugal's a great place. I've been there myself. It's fantastic. What ends up bringing you to Canada?
But to be honest, like my first idea was even I know that was some kind of the pressure from my sister, because my sister lives in Vancouver for the more than 25 years, and her family. Also, was some kind of let's say the soft pressure from my wife that she thinking that Canada is the good choice. But I was completely like 100%. I want to stay in the Portugal. I don't want to go. Main reason was because our older daughter Yo-Yo, she got the scholarship from the Providence College, and when you have the child and that child grow with you like 15, 16, 17 years, it's not so easy just like say goodbye and see you later. You want to follow, especially like you want to be the close to your child, because that is for me that is the essential thing in my life. So distance between the Lisbon and Boston airport, because Providence is like 45 minutes from the Boston, is almost same as from the Vancouver and Lisbon. But financial distance is the huge difference, because like tickets from the Europe to the Boston is about 1,000 euros, and from the Vancouver to Boston you can buy for the 350 Canadian dollars. So that is the basically permit us to have the opportunity to be every year 3-4 times in the personal contact with her. For us was very important that younger daughter stay in the touch with sister, because if we stay in the Europe, it will be maybe possible just 1 time per year. It's very hard, not just because the time difference, but first of all because of that financial aspect. So in the same moment, like I get the offer from the 3D Basketball Academy from the Thomas to work and Ramin to work in the 3D. So was so many things in the same time. I was working on that time on my PhD, and I was thinking that also will be great opportunity that I have some more free time, because to be the professional in the Europe, it means like you are working 12, 14 hours every day. So I was also thinking that it will be favored, that I will have the more time to finish my thesis. And as I told you, the family, my wife, daughter, job offer, so was everything together. And finally, like we decided to move to the Canada, and it was the good decision. It was the good decision because I have the even when I arrived here, I already have the like 25, 26 years, 25 years of experience, and I thought that I know really a lot of things about basketball. But I managed first of all to learn that basketball can be the play on different way, can be the coach on different way. I have a lot of opportunity with the 3D to going to play tournaments in the state and also know the better the basketball there. I used the time that I was here to make the how I can say the observation of the program of the DePaul, of the Yukon, of course of the Providence. I followed some final tournaments of the NCAA final tournaments, and it was very rich experience for me.
So you mentioned that you got your PhD. So what did you get your bachelor's in? What did you get your master's in? And then what is your PhD in?
Yeah, I finished my master in the Portugal in the sport school for the sport education. My master was in the athletic, how just to translate from the Portuguese, athletic preparation, something like that, but specialization in the leadership. I was analyzed the leadership style of the Portuguese basketball coaches on the different levels, from the working with the young kids to older, working with the professional teams, different kind of education coach, female, male. So it was my thesis. And after that, in the Lusofena University, I started my PhD. Also was in area of the leadership of the basketball coaches. I still didn't. I finished first 2 years of the PhD. I just didn't have the time still to write the thesis. I'm thinking those days because of all that situation that we have now more free time to finalize that.
Yeah, my brother, it took him 5 years to do this. They told him, you better finish up or we're not going to let you pass. So my brother's also, he's got his PhD.
Yeah, it's not so easy because like when we move here, you have to set up your life, a lot of administrative problems. After that, to buy the house. After that, a lot of the time with the job. Of course, I have also the like private reasons when we went to the state, and every year was 3-4 times per year. So always was the I will do later. For example, last year was that movement to the Kamloops. Of course, my priority was the first year there and trying to change some things. So I think that I'm now ready to finalize that because it's just question of the research and the writing the thesis because as I mentioned, first 2 years I already finished. So official I'm PhD candidate. So I just have to finalize that.
Absolutely. So you're coaching in North Vancouver for several years. How many years are you in North Van?
It was the 4 years. It was the 2015 for the 2019, and since last year I'm in the Kamloops.
So what makes you apply for the job in Kamloops, and then what makes you excited about being up there?
But my dream as coach from the beginning was I never had a dream like to be the coach of some EuroLeague team or the national team or something like that, because first of all I see myself as coach that like to develop the players, and for me it's very hard. To, for example, to pick up the national team and be the coach of the 1 month and make the great results. I need the time. I like the process, and I found, in the Europe, to be honest, like I was very successful coach in Europe. I have in my career more than 50, 60 titles. Just in the Benfica in 8 years, I have about 38 titles. It was I think with young categories about 23, and with the senior team, professional team 15. And you are pro because you have success. Like you are 8 years in the Benfica. Benfica is one of the biggest club in the Europe, of course, in the Portugal also. But you have the job and you are there because you are winning. And if you lose the 3 games in the row or 5 games, like you are fired, you don't have the job. Of course, it's a little more different when you work with the young kids. In the university level, you have that opportunity to build something. You have the same as we did in the 3D. I pick up the 3D in the not so good, let's say, the basketball organization. As company is the different, but speaking about the basketball, of course, they were on the different level when I left them. And my focus was on the system and building something. And because I see me as coach, I'm not curious anymore, like now I will have the 70 titles. If I have the 50, 60 or 70, is not challenge for me. Also, it's not challenge for me if I will have the more money or no, because basically I don't use the money for the life. I use for the buying the gas, buying the food, some coffee, and that it's everything for me about the money in my life. Of course, my family need, and you need the life money for life. But my challenge is the different things. And Kamloops and TRU was exactly like huge challenge to trying to pick up something what I think that should be the better, because they have amazing facilities, amazing staff, people that is working in the for the students, and same opportunity that you can see in the 4 or 5 years that you make the impact of the life of the some girls. So that is the bigger challenge for me, and I'm working as coach on that way, you know, like that is what is the moving me and what is giving me the motivation.
Fantastic. So you get there last year. Tell us about your first season. You guys had more wins than I think anybody thought you would get. Your team did rather well, I thought, considering the situation that you were in. Talk about the challenges of being there your first year and kind of achieving a little bit of success along the way.
But like, I to be honest, I don't see the things on that way. When I arrived in the Thompson River, my first decision was to stay with the roster and with the team that previously coach chose, because I always watch my players as my daughters or as my sons. So like my daughter was in the same situation when she was recruited by one coach in the on the Providence, and in her second year they changed the coach because previously coach became the athletic director of the other university. And can you imagine that in that time new coach tell her, hey, go back to the Europe, I don't want you. So I decided to give the opportunity to all the girls to work with them 1 year. I basically didn't recruit nobody. I know that they stayed without the 3 players. Michelle was very impact player on that roster. So basically they stayed without the 3 the best players. And my only decision was let's try to establish some rules, some habits, some principles, and try to fight as much as possible. My main goal was the victories, to reach the 7 victories or reach the playoff. It was just some sequence of the process on the system. Of course, that is give us some extra motivation, but also extra responsibility. But when you win the 7 games and you lose the 13, that was our score. Like, I cannot say that is the positive season, because you still lose the more than you win. But if you make the comparison with the previous years, I recognize that is maybe 3 victories more, but also that is very irrelevant, because the more 3 victories, maybe in that time they have the playing with with better opponents. Maybe my schedule was the easier, you know, and also it was impact on the playoff. I will tell you, for example, I know that last year we reached the playoff first time after 2015. But for example, if we on the first 2 rounds when we play with Western Trinity University, if we just lost 1 game, Western Trinity will be playoff and we will stay behind them. So like, okay, that is probably better than previous season, but still is not what I have the plan to do. We will see how it will be this season, because this season will be shorter, will be different. Probably if we play just with the BC teams, it means very tough schedule, because all the other universities are very strong. And my main goal is the focus on the process and on the development of the girls that I have, and some of them I already choose for this year. So I think that maybe some results and some difference we can expect from the 2021-2022. That is exactly what I told you. what is exciting for me and what is the moving me is that challenge that somebody give you the space to develop something. And when you develop, you don't develop just the offensive system, you don't develop just how you will play defense, how you will put the ball in the hoop. That is the whole packet. You develop everything, you know. And when you really make the good development in the community, when, for example, one of my goals is that to try to have at least 1/3 of the team from the Kamloops or that area around the Kamloops, and that will be take time.
So tell us about the players you got coming in this year. How many recruits do you have coming in, and what do they look like?
Yeah, that is another thing that I think that I'm thinking a little more different than the coaches. I know that a lot of coaches, when they recruit, they are looking for who will score the 20 points per game, who is with good percentage of the 3-point shots, who can make a lot of rebounds, who is good defender. When I recruit the players, I have the 3 main criteriums. First criterium is the basketball IQ, because players with a high level of the basketball IQ, they can learn fast and they can improve. If you have some player that you have to spend 10 times explain the same thing, it means you will need 10 times more. Let's say you will need 10 months to develop something what maybe you can develop in the 1-2 months. If we put that in the global plan, it means I will maybe need 4 or 5 years to develop something what I can develop in 1-2 years. So basically, when I develop, she will not manage to play for us anymore. So basketball IQ is really important, not just because of the game understanding, but first of all because of the process of the learning. Second thing that I looking in the players is for their character. You know, that is because in the student life you have a lot of the things that will appear as possible problem. For example, you separate from the family. You will have maybe problem to adapt on the different basketball, because high school basketball, university basketball is completely different. You will have the problem, maybe you will not have in the schools so easy success right from the beginning as you have in the high school. So all that ups and down, just if you have the strong character, you will always looking for the solution. Because normally kids with no so strong character, the first thing they start to looking for is the excuse. And with excuse, you cannot move in the front. You know, excuse is something what always is the pushing you the back. So that player's character that a lot of times is coming from the home is something what is very important for me. Of course, that character is also in the touch with the work ethic and habits and feelings to know how that you are part of the same team, that basketball is not individual sport. And third thing that I'm looking for is something different, that player will be in the basketball point, that player will be bring us that the other players cannot bring. So maybe that is some extraordinary shooter or amazing defender, or so one characteristic that we don't have in our team, so that player can add something to us. So basically, all 5 players that I recruit this year, and of course that like sometimes you want some players, but the other university in this moment, they have the more reputation, or they have the better score, or have the better tradition than us. So it will take some time that we can choose each player that we want. But players that I choose, I really think that all of them meet all that criteria. So maybe we will not have any Leilani Carney in the next year. Maybe we will not have any Emma Pig in the next year. But I think that we will be different as team. That is exactly what is my goal. And also one thing very important, you know, in the youth sport, we have the limit number of the scholarship, you know. So it's very important that all that athletes, that they understand that they are first of all student, and after they are athlete. So they get their scholarship because they are extraordinary students. So that is also one thing that I would like to push this year. Like, let's say last year we tried to buy the time. We get some credit, that people start to believe in us, that they start to think that we are changing things. This year I really want to focus on sending the message to my players and all the other players that if they want to come to the TRU. They will not come to TRU to be the champion. They will come to TRU to be the amazing students with a completely different work habit and work ethic. And after that, I think when I establish all that criteriums, then will be easier to reach the success. If we see that success is the number of the wins or the percentage of the victories.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, I'm excited to see your team play next. Hopefully they get to play this year and you continue to grow. Talk about what it's like moving from across the world to Vancouver, and then from Vancouver up to Calgary. Or sorry, not to Calgary, to Kamloops. Give me the comparisons between all the different places.
Anthony, we can speak about that probably 3-4 days, but if I have to choose the very, very shortly, like definitely what I learned here in the Canada and also on that tournaments in the state, you can play the basketball in different way, and you can choose to live in different way. For example, one thing that was the shock for me on the tournaments in the state, when I saw some teams, U10 teams, U11 teams, they are playing the zone. And I was like, oh, that is not fair. Why they are playing the zone? Because kids cannot shoot, kids cannot do nothing. That is not fair. But after that, I start to think, and I say like, hey, but I can take something good for me from that. I can teach my kids to go on the offensive rebound because no direct you don't have the direct match up. So I can teach my kids to play the more aggressive full court pressure and maybe have the easier fast break. So even they play the zone with U10 or U11, I can use that and teach my kids to do something, And here definitely basketball, if we make the main comparison in Europe, is the more skill oriented and more tactical oriented. Here is the more intensive, is the more contact game. Process of the practice is also different, is the much more important speed that you will do, the intensity that you will use to do some skill. And in the Europe, we are still like oriented the more how it will be executive, skill will be perfect, and that. So maybe combination is the ideal combination, is the like combine all that two philosophy. But in any case, you have to choose what you will do according what is your team. If I don't have the fast players, how I can play the fast break? For example, last year TRU didn't play the style of the game that I prefer as coach. We play very controlled, very slow. We try to put as much as possible lower number of the attacks or ball possession on the game, because I know that I didn't have any chance to win any team 98-97. My only chance to win some team was when result is about 50-60 points. So one of the strategy was to play very control the game very slowly, do everything that the other team don't have the fast break. And actually games that we lost with a lot of the difference, for example Saskatchewan, was because we didn't manage to stop their for example fast break first of all. So as coach, you have to have the wide mind to think about everything, to know everything, but you have to choose what you will play according what is your team, like what is your team, what is, and main goal of the coach is that to manage to hide what is not so good for your team and explore what is the good, So like, as I mentioned to you, like that is of course, the part of the mentality here in the Canada, in the state, especially in the state, mentality is much more individualistic. People is much more oriented to themselves, to ego. And most of the country in the Europe, special like Latin countries or the Mediterranean country like Italy, Spain, Portugal, they are much more the collective oriented, So all that stuff make some kind of the influence, but you are growing as coach, as person, you grow with that,
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to see you guys play. Hopefully we get a season, and we can see, a little more basketball this year, and we can get a little bit back to normal, hopefully sooner than later. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, and I also wish you and your team, VK, and also the Argyle. I hope you will stay with that team. It was really nice to see your team playing this year, and of course, that is one of the first first places for our recruitment process. So we'll stay in the touch in any case. Thank you very much for the.
Absolutely.